What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome back to the Sooner Surge. Thanks for being a part of our YouTube channel. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications. A few days ago, we did a by the numbers look at the University of Oklahoma softball program from last year to this year. Some viewers reached out and said, hey, why not a comparison of OU versus Texas since you got the big matchup right around the corner in a couple of days in Austin, Texas. So, Hunter, drop us with some stats and some comparison numbers between the University of Oklahoma and the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, I think you have to start out on the pitching side of things. You look at the ERA standings. You have Oklahoma third in the country with a 1.4 team ERA, Texas fourth, and they're not far off. It's 1.41 for the Longhorns. So match up pretty much identically there on the pitching side of things. Batting average, it's Oklahoma number one at 394, Texas number two at 377. These teams are neck and neck. There's a reason this is a top five matchup. There's a reason that all the stakes are on this matchup. It's a national broadcast for two of the games on ESPNU and then ESPN on Saturday. But where it really starts to separate is more of if you dig in a little bit more to offensive numbers. The Sooners have more runs, more hits, more RBIs, and more home runs as well. And home runs especially, it's not a close margin. Oklahoma has 35 more home runs than the Longhorns.
Yeah, OU's power game seems to be a lot better than Texas. And guys, something's got to give this weekend because you have both teams that have pitched pretty well. I mean, stat-wise, they're really good. ERAs are similar, but you're going up against two of the best offenses in the nation. So something's got to give, I think. And I expect OU to continue to put up big numbers. In fact, watching the OSU-Texas series, I think OU is going to put up big numbers this weekend hitting the ball. I do. And so we'll see. And there's one stat, one stat we haven't talked about yet is Texas has been struggling defensively, guys. That's been an issue for them. And so we'll see if that continues in this weekend series. But the home runs to me is just a big one. 35 more home runs by Oklahoma. They've played one more game and they have 35 more home runs. That's kind of a crazy stat for two really good offensive teams for one team to have that many more home runs.
Yeah, and look, I mean, Hunter will tell us a stat in a second, but Texas is averaging a little over one error a game right now. So if you think about that, now listen, the other comparison you want to look at right now, OU is the one being hunted by everybody. Texas is the hunter going into this series. Now, here's the good news for OU fans. They've been the hunted for about the last 3 years, and guess what? No one's getting them. So that's the thing. But Texas they are primed and ready. If there's any year where they have been in a great position to pull off maybe a series win, it would be this year. But I would say watch out because, like you said, Jay, defensively in big games, when pressure mounts, if you're making errors, they can stack on top of each other. And usually the best teams cannot be that bad defensively if you just go look at years past.
Yeah, and defensively, both teams are really in for it this weekend behind the plate. Oklahoma has 41 stolen bases, numbers up from last year at this point, and Texas has 58. So 17 more stolen bases for the Longhorns. I think both catchers are going to have their hands full when runners get on first on movement on the base pass. I think you're going to see quite a few attempts try to establish pressure for the opposing pitchers for both sides. And you mentioned the errors, Jay. Texas has 38 right now. That's a lot. That's a lot of errors. Oklahoma has a lot for their standards, and they're only at 13.
Yeah, and it's probably a really, really, really good thing that Kenzie Hansen will be back behind the plate this weekend, defensively wise and offensively, but defensively wise for sure. A comparison, it's not a number comparison, but I'm going to throw a little comparison out there. And Texas, if you remember earlier this year, when they got up to rank what were they, number 2? Number 2. And all of a sudden they start to lose. They lose a game in Houston. Then they lose a couple to OSU.
They were number 1 at that point when they lost.
For the Houston, okay, the Houston, they were number 1. That's right. And then they went to 2.
Yes.
So, but what I'm saying is this is a weird comparison, but just go with it. Okay. Tiger Woods in golf, if you remember right, he was always at the top, just like OU is. And then there would be other guys come along and you're thinking, man, I think they could challenge Tiger. And they get up to that top ranking or close to it, and then poof, fall off the planet or just fall way down, right? And I'm not saying Texas falling off the planet, but they've lost now Houston and 2 to OSU. And I just think maybe they're not ready to be number 1 or 2, guys. They are young in the pitching staff, are they not?
Look, they are, but they're really good. They're really good.
I agree, they're really good. I agree.
Now, that's got to translate. I agree with that. And look, I don't follow Texas enough. I don't know if they're looking a little bit ahead. I'm sure that they can maybe tell you, look, with OU around the corner, you're playing OSU. Maybe there was some of that. It's not going to matter because they would trade a series win against OU easily. Even if they got swept, getting swept wouldn't matter if they could win the series against OU. But listen, we'll get into the preview tomorrow as this game gets closer. But listen, base on balls, with those stolen base numbers that both teams have, you cannot give people a bag. You cannot.
I'm glad you brought that up. Kind of wanting to transition more into the pitching side of things. Oklahoma has walked 66 batters on the year. Texas has only walked 42. So free passes with the team. 58 stolen bases for the Longhorns. As you mentioned, cannot happen. But the other interesting thing pitching-wise, Oklahoma has 50 more strikeouts as a pitching staff than Texas does. And Texas, I think, is the best pitching staff Oklahoma's facing all year, for sure in the regular season, if not even – when it's all said and done, I think you can put that Longhorn pitching staff up against just about anyone. And then the other thing is extra base hits. Doubles, they've allowed the same amount, 14 apiece. But Oklahoma's allowed 6 more home runs. Maybe that's a little bit of the Love's Field effect there, as seems like everyone was just launching the ball that first weekend at Love's Field.
Well, and the base on balls, OU, the way they're looking at the ball right now, Texas is going to walk some OU batters this weekend. I just think OU's been too patient at the plate. And so I'd love to know the stat, and I know you can't look it up, but how many of the walks have led, like how many of their big innings that they've allowed OU-wise have come with walks? I think a lot of it. And they got to cut down on the walks. That's one thing the pitching staff, I think, has to be better at, is the base on balls. It just has to get better as you get further into the season.
Yeah, and I think Hunter just said hit by pitch as well. So, yeah, that's the thing across the board. Look, OU will embrace this opportunity. We do know that. They're looking forward to it. Texas is. It's going to be a fun series. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel because right around the corner is going to be a preview of this series where we get into a lot of the details as well about what needs to happen for the Sooners to sweep the Longhorns and come out victorious. But thanks again for watching this. Hunter, thanks for getting the stats. Appreciate it. Till next time, Boomer.